Alan, the individual brilliance coming from Kieran Frolley. Talk to me about him. We could spend hours on this. Came through at Skerries, then got a shot in the centre, then a bit of fullback. And everyone's wanted him over the last year to play 10. Sorry, from the outside public. Not that the coaches are too worried about that. Getting a run of games at fly half. Doesn't seem to happen at Leinster, but he never shies away. And as you talked about, missed that drop goal in the Champions Cup final, but back with a serious bang. He'll never forget that. Put himself in the Irish history books. 1 drop goal, then 2, right at the death. But what would you like to see from him going forward and more positional wise? Where do you see him? Like, he's a winner, but what jersey on what number on the back?
Well, look, I think there's been a long debate, particularly the second half of the season, about who Leinster started fly half, and I think some of it is unfair in Ross Byrne, and we won't get into a complete Leinster podcast here about who should be playing out half for Leinster.
Never do that, Al. We'd never do that.
But look, we've known for a long time that Kieran Frolley is a very talented footballer. We've seen him move around to multiple positions: centre, full-back, wing, out half. I think with Johnny Sexton retiring, I think it's pretty obvious that you're trying to put together and look at the out half depth chart and who's coming through. Crowley's come through magnificently and really stepped up to the plate. I think you need more depth there, and Frawley is someone that has been spoken about that can do that job, but we haven't seen enough of it. So we haven't seen him play fly half. So again, it's up to Leinster to play more. I'm sure after yesterday, Kieran Frawley there's actually a little bit of pressure going to be off his shoulders as regards the talking points and people talking about it. I just think he's a very talented player, wonderful footballer. He's an ability to run with the ball as well. So look, it went right for him yesterday, and magnificently so. And as I said, I'm absolutely delighted for him. Aside from the obvious of, yes, Ireland win, but for the player individually, because, there's things you remember about in your career when you retire. Sometimes you don't remember a lot. There's so many games, but there's certain things stick out. And that moment in the Champions Cup final was one of those ones. Like, not that people would look at him and say, well, this is a moment that you did something wrong. The ball just goes wide and he doesn't get the perfect accuracy in that drop goal, but he'll remember it for a long time. But yesterday was really special. So nobody's really surprised that this guy's capable of doing this, but we need to see more of him at out half. If he's going to be the backup or the starting and push Jack Crowley, who's now number 1, we need to see him play out half more regularly for Leinster, and that's just the reality of it. Again, that's up to Leinster. I'm sure, with Andrew Goodman coming in now as an attack coach and knowing Frawley well, it's you can't tell someone provincially who they should pick where, but I think it's pretty obvious now that he's the backup at the moment and could start putting that pressure on in November, and hopefully we'll see more of him as a 10 now.
Matt, it's quite interesting that, because I know you're a fan of Ross Byrne. So where do you see the fly half chart, even at Leinster and Ireland? Do you feel, going back to Frawley, hypothetical sort of question, but if he got 10 games, good enough to push Jack Crowley? I presume from yesterday he is.
Yes, Stu. Look, it's a you don't own the jersey. The jersey stewardship. You pass it on to someone else, and competition is important. I think it's essential for Ireland and look, for Leinster's progress too, that Frawley gets a lot of game time at 10, wearing a 10 jersey. Like Quinny's pointed out, I think sometimes you get these talented players in the backs I'm talking about here that can play multiple positions, and they end up not specialising in any because they're so talented. And I think Frawley's fallen into that category. But I would certainly like to see him. I think he's in front of Harry Byrne, and I think he's in front of all the others. And Ross is a really great player. He's getting older, and the Irish national selectors have said, we've got him in front of him. I think you've got to recognise that, and you've got to place competition there. It doesn't mean you throw Ross Byrne out. I'm not suggesting that at all. But for the Leinster, what Leo Cullen is exceptionally good at is rotating his squad. I can't remember the exact numbers. Over 50 players played this year. But Frawley needs several or consecutive starts at 10 to fit into that position. And that pushes pressure on Jack. It was really interesting to see Jack run on the field and give him a hug straight after the sort of bloke he is. We want to win the game. He's a team player. And let me say, what we forget, like Quinny's point on when Ireland made their break and the support coming through, Malcolm Marks makes a great break and Jack Crowley does a match-saving tackle on that break from Marks early on in the second half. I can't remember the exact minute. And Jack smacks him, puts him on the deck, puts his body on the line. So he did brilliantly. But I would definitely want to see Frawley getting multiple starts in a 10 jersey for Leinster. He then becomes the perfect bench player for the national team because he plays so many positions. He's getting himself.
You don't want that title, Matt, do you? Or were we chatting Quinny last week? Matt's made it trendy.
If he's the best 10, he gets picked. But if he's the second best 10, he's also a good centre, a good winger, and a good fullback.
But also, Matt, if I could just say, look at Richie Mwanga at Bowden Barrett for a number of years. Yeah. You could have Frawley could come in and move to another position. So the way the modern game is gone now, I think it's even being a sub, as I said the other day, is kind of trendy now that you're coming on. So it's not the same narrative anymore that you're not getting selected, you're written off. There's so much rotation that happens now in the modern game. And look, I mean this with the utmost respect. We have to see Ross Byrne exposed to starting November tests or Six Nations games to see that, Kieran Frawley, to see that, he can control a game and he can do the right things. And it might take him a little bit of time.
But that's quite interesting now because Crawley's only played 15 tests, right? He'll want the next 5 to 10.
Yeah, but look, I think there can be a bit of rotation. Yeah, there can be a bit of rotation, but at least Jack Crowley's playing every week with Munster when he's available and release. But look, and I mean this with the utmost respect, it was Kieran Frawley's day yesterday. We can't forget, and I don't mean to dilute it in any way, but he had a crossfield kick before that went straight into touch. It's a mistake. There was they'll always have a mistake or two, fly halves, because they handle the ball 70, 80 times in a game. Every decision is not going to be perfect, but it's getting that composure, and that comes with pressure. Look at Ollie Watkins the other night for England. He comes on, he scores a winning goal. Does that mean he should start every time for England now? Heroes come on.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Yeah, they have these heroic moments. But what it does do for Ireland in the bigger picture here, this is a bigger picture for Ireland, not for Leinster, is Kieran Frawley now can walk around with his chest held high, he's pushed out, his head held high, and actually be a bit more comfortable and less pressure that he can go on and do a job there. He has the ability. We know he's an excellent footballer. He's very athletic. He's quick, kicking game. All parts of his game, Matt, I think are good. But we just need to see it. And then that's a great thing for Ireland then.
It's funny, it's the final one on that, Alan, just because Ross Byrne got that kick against Australia and then got a bit of a chance, but didn't maybe quite take it. Yes, a different situation. This is probably a bigger kick, a much bigger drop goal. But still, do you sort of get that comparison there?
A little bit, yeah. But you can't write players off. And I maybe it's just me. I think Ross Byrne has this big say in what Leinster do and possibly what Ireland do going forward. And I find it's a bit unfair.
Do you still think he could be in the picture for Ireland, Ross Byrne?
Yeah, of course he could. Like if there's 2 injuries and Ross Byrne comes in, he's a lot of experience. He's a very good player, and Leinster losing the Champions Cup final isn't down to Ross Byrne.
Absolutely.
Solely, you know what I mean? It's unfair, but it's great to have these arguments and this competition. Like I played in the back row where, David Wallace was a 2001 British and Irish line, and he comes back at the start of the season, and a certain Dennis Leamy arrives on the scene. There's Jim Williams, Axel, myself, David Cork, who was still around there, and Wally was with the British and Irish lines in the summer, and then he's playing All Ireland League with Gary Owen in September. So it sways very quick. My point here is that I don't like people being written off. I think I'm looking forward to seeing Ross Byrne getting back, having showing the grit and determination. Some people have this great ascendancy in their careers and they get to a high level and they stay there sometimes. And I experienced all those ups and downs. So Ross Byrne's still a very good player. The great news yesterday, without over-elaborating, and we're going on too much about a fly-half situation, is Kieran Frolley, that will stand him and Ireland and Leinster in great stead.
I don't think we can go on too much about the fly halves.
I suppose.
Dominant fly halves win championships. You look around the world, if you haven't got a dominant 9 and a dominant 10, you do not win. I was at my old club here in Sydney watching them play yesterday, and standing next to a guy called Stephen James, ex-Wallaby, just said the same thing to me. You don't win without a good 10. My point with Frawley is he just deserves time. I'm not saying Ross is gone. I'm not saying Jack Crowley should be thrown out. Don't let any of that. That's rubbish. That's over exaggeration. Frawley just needs some time in a 10 jersey for Leinster. And now I can tell you, when I sit next to between Shane Horgan, when we were on television, and Rob, they're saying the same thing. They watch him and they say they want to see him in a 10 jersey. We're not making anything past that. He just needs some more time. I think that's going to be good for Leinster, good for Ireland to have competition. I think that's the point I'm trying to get across.